Good morning, learners. Welcome to Lesson 15, Session 4. This is the last session for Lesson 15, where we will refine multiplying to find area. Now, the last session of each lesson is the one that you actually start working on by yourself, and then we see where you're at, and then we go back and work on the problems. So I'm going to introduce the first page, and then I want you to pause the video and work out the rest of it on your own, because then you see what you know, and then you'll start the video again, and then we'll check your work, and if you need to go back and fix anything, you go back and fix it. Okay, so in our refined lesson, they've given us an example here. Mrs. Cruz is putting carpet in the living room. The length and width of the room is shown below. How many square feet of carpet does Miss Cruz need to cover the whole floor? So just like we've been practicing, they have sketched in the rectangle of the room. They've labeled it living room, and they also labeled the length as 9 feet and the width at 8 feet. So they've done a good job of drawing the picture. Look at how you could show your work using multiplication. Remember, length times width equals area. The length is 9 feet, so they substitute in 9 feet. The width is 8 feet, so they substitute 8 feet. And when they do the multiplication, 9 times 8 is 72. And we remember when we are multiplying two different measurements, we have to say square feet as our unit in the solution. So let's go ahead and look at the apply it. Marcia, I'm covering the answer because I don't want you to see it yet. Marcia finds the area of a square. The length of one side of the square is 5 centimeters. What is the area of the square? I like this problem because they didn't give you all the information and you had to do some thinking on your own. And I love it when problems make you think. Let's go ahead and talk about what's going on. Marcia finds the area of a square. Okay, so let's go ahead and sketch our square. Now remember, just make it the best square that you can. The length of one side of the square is 5 centimeters. Which one do you want to make 5? Remember, it's a square. What do we know about squares? All 4 sides are the same. So if I write 5 here as the width of my square, what is the length? This is the part you had to think about. The length is also 5 because it is a square and all the sides are 5. So what is the area of the square? Here is what we're going to do. I've got my square, 5 centimeters by 5 centimeters. Area equals length times width. So I substitute my 5 times 5 and I get an area of 25. Now I can't just say 25. I need 25 square centimeters. Okay, they even gave you a little hint over here. The sides of a square are all the same length. Okay, this is where you pause the video and you go and work on the rest of the pages, 332, 333, and 334 on your own. When you are done, start the video again and we'll go over some answers. Okay, now that you're back, let's look at 332. Now, I have solved most of them, and we'll talk about them. And again, if you've made a mistake, just pause the video and fix it. In number 2, they're talking about Mrs. Clark's patio. So I sketched her patio. I labeled it. I wrote the numbers in. We've got 4 yards for our length and 3 yards for our width. And I found out that the area of her patio is 12 square yards. Now, the question actually asks you, does Mrs. Clark have enough bricks to build the patio? So even though I know her area of her patio is 12, that's not enough to answer the question. I have to make a decision here. Is 14, and that's the question right here. Here's the question. I even boxed it so it said question. Is 14... She has 14 square yards of bricks. Is that greater than 12? If she has 14 square yards, can she cover 12 square yards? Is 14 greater than 12? It is. So yes, Mrs. Clark has enough bricks to build the patio. Okay, how about number 3? Number 3, they were trying to trick you. In number 3, they gave you extra information. They were checking to make sure that you understand area, and that area is length times width. So there are only 2 pieces of information you needed, and they gave you 4. They gave you extra information. So they wanted to make sure that you knew if you have a rectangle, you only use the length and the width to find area. Even though this is also width and this is also length, we only use one set of that information. So if it helps you, cross out your extra information. I don't need to know that in order to solve the problem. I needed to know the length is 7 and the width is 5. And if you do the math, you should have found 35 square meters is the rectangle, the area of the rectangle. Now they asked you down here, Bobby chose B as the correct answer. How did he get that answer? He got 24. I noticed in order to get 24, he went 7 plus 5 plus 7 plus 5. He used all of the information. Remember, they were checking. They were trying to trick you. So he added all the sides. So that's what he did incorrect. When we're looking for area, we don't add the sides. We multiply the length times the width. Okay, let's go ahead and do number 4. In number 4, we've got Mr. Frank putting in a tile on his bathroom wall above the tub. And so the model shows the length and the width of the wall and how many square feet of tile does he need to cover this wall. So notice, here's our wall. Let's label it wall. It is 7 feet long and 6 feet wide. So 7 times 6 is 42 square feet. Once I know my answer, I'm going to come over here and notice I don't need this one, or this one. B is my correct answer. There you go. Okay, let's look at number 5. Which shape below has an area of 12 square feet? So I had to remember, I don't have to write my formula. If I have to figure out a whole bunch at one time, I will just write area equals length times width, and then I'm just going to go through and I'm going to do that math. I'm going to go 6 times 6 is 36. That's not 12. 3 times 3 is 9. That's not 12. 6 times 2 is 12, so that is a good answer, but I'm always going to check all of them. 4 times 2 is 8, and that's not a good answer. So my answer is C. Okay, number 6. The area of a rectangular patio is 24 square yards. Which measurements could be the length and width of the patio? I noticed that they said measurements, so that means there might be more than one answer. So I'm going to check all of them. So again, knowing that area is length times width, in my head, I'm just going 8 times 4 is 32, and it's not 24, so bad answer. 5 times 5 is 25. That doesn't work. 6 times 3 is 18. It's not 24. 6 times 4 is 24. There's a good answer. And 8 times 3 is 24. That's another good set of measurements. So this one had 2 answers. We should have gotten D and E. Okay, page 334. Okay, number 7. Number 7 was tricky. Another one that you had to do some thinking. Rita is making a quilt. It is made with 45 square blocks of fabric. I thought this was interesting. When I saw square blocks, that means they've already found the area. The area is 45. And so I looked at my picture and noticed that there are 45 little blocks. So we already know the area. What else do they tell us? That the length is 9 blocks. See, they've got 9 blocks. So this is our quilt. It has an area or a space of 45, and the length is 9. So I'm thinking, What do they want me to do? If I already know the area, what do they want me to do? Let's read. Complete the equation below to show how many blocks wide the quilt is. That's what we need to find. How many blocks wide? So, yes, we could just count, right? We've learned that. But what if it didn't have those little grid lines? What would we do? They want us to write the equation. Remember, length times width equals the area. So let's substitute in what we do know. What do we know? We know the area is what? It's 45. So I'm going to write 45 right there because that is the area. What else do we know? We know the length. What is the length? It is 9. Do we know the width? I don't know this one. So now let's think about 9 times what is 45? Now, if I know my multiplication facts, I know what that number is. But they've also given you a hint. What number could go there? And they've given you 5 numbers to pick from. Could 45 go there? 9 times 45 is 45? Nope, can't be that one. Could 9 go here? 9 times 9 is 45? No, 9 times 9 is 81. Can't be that. How about 9 times 6? Could I put 6 there? 9 times 6 is 45? No, 9 times 6 is 54. So it can't be the 6. How about the 5? 9 times 5? What's 9 times 5? You're right, it is 45. So if you didn't already know that this is 5, now you do. Okay, number 8 is a really cool math journal problem. They wanted you to draw a rectangle. They wanted you to label its length and width. And then they wanted you to explain how to find area of your rectangle. They want you to draw, label, and explain. Then they want you to use a multiplication equation. So 4 steps in showing what you know about solving area problems. I'd like for you to do this one and see if you can learn how to send a picture to Mrs. Gonzalez. Can you do that? Is there a way that you could show her what you know about finding areas of rectangles? Okay, that's it for lesson 15. I'll see you soon for our next lesson.